everybody. Welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. 7 games to go in the Championship. The longest away game of the season is on the horizon this Saturday, of course. It's the trip to Plymouth Argyle. Got pretty bad memories of that place from last season, but hopefully Norwich City have got better ones this time round with that. Of course, delighted to have Aaron from Argyle Life back on the channel to discuss everything to do with the Greens. No longer a Norwich Green, but back in the West Country. Are you enjoying life back down south?
Yeah, I've only been back in a matter of weeks. Well, maybe like a month now. So yeah, I've still got my Norwich Greens flag. It's tucked away in a cupboard now, in a drawer anyway. I'm sure I'll get it out at some point. But yeah, just like you said, that game back at Home Park was a highlight for me in my time in Norwich. So although you absolutely ruined it when we came back to your place, so thanks for that.
We did indeed, yeah. The pretty table doesn't look too good for Argyle. I mean, 6 points adrift at the bottom, potentially could be 7 by the time we reach Saturday if Derby were to get a win against Preston. Looking at the fixtures up ahead for Argyle as well, there's the likes of Sheffield United in there, Leeds, Coventry, Middlesbrough. I mean, it doesn't make things look very easy. Is even the most optimistic Argyle fan, fancying your chances of survival now?
I think we worked out on the pod. I wasn't on, but we worked out on the pod last night. We have a roughly 2% survival chance. To be honest, we were down the second we hired Wayne Rooney, and some people who may remember what I said last time I was on, we sort of like backed him a bit, and maybe a bit too much. But there's literally no chance we stay up, in my opinion, and our Championship is your Premier League now. Like, we just don't have the money to compete on that scale unless we get our own Atanasio. They might have to be a bit richer than them, to be honest, to even keep us up in the Championship, never mind the Premier League. So, yeah, we're a very tiny fish in a very big pond at the moment. And to be honest, we've had some fun this season. I don't know whether you're going to go on to touch on the FA Cup run. You most probably are, because it's the only good thing we've got to talk about this season. But I wouldn't swap them for Championship survival in a million years, because we'd only go down next season anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, before we talk about the FA Cup, let's just talk a little bit about that first half of the season under Wayne Rooney. I mean, at the time, and I know when we spoke previously, you spoke about maybe it being a little bit of a PR stunt. I know there's been those claims dismissed from certain individuals in the football club, but 4 wins in 23 games, shipping goals left, right and centre. I mean, just how tough was that spell?
There's just absolutely no doubt in my mind that it wasn't a PR appointment, and that's fine. That's fine. I just wish they'd admit it. Although it doesn't really change anything if they do or don't admit it, really. We're still League One bound. So, yeah, I think anybody that genuinely believes we hired him on footballing reasons is an idiot. And as I alluded to earlier, there was a point where we were all behind him. We were like, this might work. We have to do things differently. We haven't got the budget of other clubs. We have to outsmart people, but that was just one step too far. So he's a great bloke. Always spoke relatively well. Maybe not as well as our new manager, but spoke very highly of the place even after leaving. Hasn't said anything derogatory about us, like he did at Birmingham. So he obviously got on well with the people down here. Enjoyed his time down here as much as he could, especially the establishments of the Barbican and the Hoe. But yeah, it just didn't work. It was never going to work. And some of us, including myself, were a bit delusional to think it might. But yeah, there was a period between, I think it was like the first international break and then the second one, where we were on fire. Like, we genuinely looked class, and we were like, you know what? Actually, fair play to him. He's used that international break well. He's coached the players well. We actually look like we have a style. We have a system in place, and we might stay up. And then, yeah, just crumbled again. Just got absolutely battered every week again. So, yeah, I didn't agree with the appointment when it happened, and even more so in hindsight, it's just didn't feel like the right club for him.
Yeah, of course, sacked sort of around Christmas time, just after Christmas. You appoint Miron Muslic, who I think anybody who knew who he was previous to his arrival at our home park in Argyle would be pretty well knowledgeable, I suppose, across European football, because I certainly had never really heard of him. So at the time, what was kind of the feeling and sort of the noises, I suppose, around that appointment? Were you happy with that, or obviously the unknown was always a little bit of an exciting prospect, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely no idea. There were a few people linked before we even hired Ian Foster that re-emerged. Johannes Hoftorp was one of them. I don't know where he is now. Don't know what he's up to. But plucking random up and coming managers out of Europe seems to be like the done thing in the Championship at the moment. And to be honest, Miron's history, his past, he went to Cercle Bruges when they were in the relegation zone, took them out of the relegation zone, kept them up, and then took them into Europe with one of the smallest budgets in the Belgian league. So he's, he does something right, but we're not quite seeing that from him yet. It's become relatively, I don't want to say it's not route one, but it's incredibly direct. It's defend first and look for options second. He's an incredibly good speaker. I don't know if you've seen his clip of his first team talk that went viral. He seems to be a lovely bloke. Not met him yet. Hopefully, there's something in the pipeline. We can get him in and around our pod, shall we say? Hopefully, and then like the initial reaction was interesting because pretty much everybody that was in the know seemed to believe that Steven Schumacher was returning, and I think Steven Schumacher himself may have believed that he was returning. We know that he interviewed for it. He wasn't obviously the man they decided to go forward with, but it was interesting because obviously Shuey is very well loved in the West Country, even after his decision to go and bugger off to Stoke and take the top job there. It was a bit of a surprise when the name Miron Muslic was touted around because, like you, we had to do an awful lot of research into this guy. But I think we're pretty sold now. We knew that we were down anyway. He can't do much worse. So it's just about giving him the summer now to better squad of his own players in his own style and his own system. And on Saturday after the international break, the game up at Watford, we looked quite different to how we have every other game under him. So hopefully what we saw on Saturday is going to be more of what we see going forward.
Yeah, of course, there's kind of two parts to his reign so far. You mentioned the FA Cup run, probably against the odds, the win at Brentford, initially. Then you go and beat Liverpool down at home park and then get ahead at Man City at the Etihad and obviously just about come short to their quality eventually, that like everybody does across most of England, unfortunately. But then obviously the league element as well. I think it's 21 points from 14 games, an average of 1.2 points per game, which I think over the course of the season, had he been in charge with that record, probably would have just about scraped safety. So with all that and all that context, I mean, what was kind of his reign been like, I suppose, as an Argyle fan, given the torture I suppose you had to deal with it in the first part of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the first, it's like anything would have been better, to be honest. Like, but it's not even the style of play or, it was just getting absolutely hammered every week. And he stopped that simply just by signing defenders, which is what we needed and what Rooney should have done as well, to be honest. Signs two brutes in Maxim Talavierov, who you won't see because he's out injured, and Nikola Katic, who, bless him, is very limited, but he's very good at what he can do. He's a very head-it, kick-it centre-back. So he shored us up at the back. And obviously the Brentford game he was appointed before the Brentford game, but he didn't take charge at the Brentford game in order to focus on the league. And our caretaker manager, Kevin Nanskiville, who's taken charge of us 5 times now in caretaker charge, he most probably has the best record of any Argyle manager ever, to be honest. He's a phenomenal bloke as well, and he mixed everything up for Brentford game, and we went there as the team with the worst form away from home in Europe, and Brentford at the time were the best. Had the best form at home in Europe, so there wasn't a hope in hell's chance that we were coming away with a win. And football did what football does, and one of the best days following this club. Obviously, there were a few up there, but Brentford was one of them. And then we went a few weeks later and took this all-conquering Liverpool side. They underestimated us as we expected them to, and when we turned them over. And if so what if they're kids? So what if it's mainly their academy team? There was still, I think it was something like £235 million worth of talent on the pitch or something, which I don't think we've even ever spent even a quarter of that in our life, even on running costs and electricity bills and stuff, never mind talent on the pitch. So again, just the FA Cup and going 1-0 up at the Etihad as well. If we didn't have that FA Cup, this season would have been absolutely tragic. And thank God we did, because like I said earlier, I wouldn't have swapped those wins in the FA Cup for Championship survival at all.
Yeah, certainly moments that can bring a bit of joy in a tough season. No, Norwich had that a few years back in the Premier League, a really tough campaign, but a few magical nights at Tottenham, winning on penalties and various other things in the FA Cup can kind of bring a little bit of joy in difficult times. Obviously, you mentioned the looming relegation, but I think there's maybe a little bit of added hope. I sort of read you potentially got some new investment coming into the football club. You mentioned the lacking budget. I suppose going down with that news, does that breed a little bit more optimism, maybe that you could return at the first time of asking if you do end up in League One?
The investment news itself, no, because we've been hearing this for quite a while now. And I appreciate that getting investment isn't easy, but we're trying to find the right investment in the fact that we want investors to come in that share the values that our board currently hold. And that's kind of hard, because obviously when people are spending millions of pounds, they want their ideas and they want to do their things their way. So we're obviously, again, just trying to do it slightly differently. I think our chairman, Simon Hallett, who's been a fantastic owner, even if you weigh up the cons of the last couple of seasons, he's still been most probably the best owner of this football club since its inception. It's hard to get that money in. So be interesting to see how we do. I think if we go down, we're going to have one of the better budgets in the league anyway, because we've been very sensible off the pitch. We've upgraded like all the hospitality suites. We've upgraded like basically every revenue fund that you can possibly make off a football club. We've done all of that since either since we were back in League One or been promoted to the Championship. So we're very well run off the pitch. We just need to start picking up wins on it. Do we come straight back under Miron Muslic? If we play like we did on Saturday, potentially. If we play like we have most of the other games, no.
Yeah, that was a vital clean sheet. 77 goals conceded this campaign. Is that probably the weak point of this squad, would you say, that defensive record? Because if you look at the goals record for, it probably would have been enough to try and keep you in and around it, had that shut out at the back being a little bit more consistent.
Well, I think anybody that saw the 6-1, because we scored, didn't we? 6-1 defeat up at your place would see that we cannot defend. And you could have had 10. You could have had 10 easy that day. But thankfully you didn't. Spared me a bit of abuse. But like I said, since January, sort of switched. We've been much better defensively, and there was just a random night where we smashed Millwall 5-0, 5-1. I don't know. They all roll into one and you get absolutely battered. And we were the batteries for once. Batterers? Yeah, whatever. And that was interesting. That was very early on in Miron's range as well. So we sort of switched under him on Saturday. We were by far the better team against Watford, and don't get me wrong, Watford are, as you know, bang average Championship side. But we were much the better team, and our front three just went to pot like they'd never met each other. So looked far better in defence, and I hope that's going to be the theme going forward, because I can't take another battering, especially not against Norwich. Please.
No, and I think obviously the home park factor probably plays into that on Saturday. Just 6 defeats from 19 games at home, so that the home form's probably not really been your problem as much as I think the away record is well documented. You're getting your first win quite a while, a couple of weeks back there away at Portsmouth. So, what's the home atmosphere still like? Is it still kind of got that fortress feel that we certainly felt? September 2023 now?
No, it's always been a fortress, but purely because of how far away it is. I mean, you guys know how hard it is to travel from the arse end of nowhere to these games week in, week out. I think a lot of people look at us and just go, it's Plymouth, like write it off. Like if we've got injuries, don't take them. If we've got niggles, don't take them. If we lose this one, who really cares? Like just write this game off and go again, because it's so far to travel. It's so hard to get to. We don't even have an airport. Norwich have one-upped us there. We're just pain in the backside. A lot of away fans tend to they either come because it's so far away or sack it off because it's so far away. and most people make a weekend of it if they do come. So the home form has certainly helped us out. Had we not had that, we would be dead and buried already. It was probably the quickest team ever to be relegated in Championship history. But just a few weeks ago, we were thinking we could stay up again, and results since then have gone against us. But the home form has helped. Home Park is still a fortress on the pitch, sort of. But the atmosphere in the stands is very much faded because I think we all know where we're headed.
Yeah, indeed. Before we sort of talk a little bit more around the game, who's maybe the key men or key man to look out for on Saturday? I think, you go back last season, I'd have probably said Morgan Whittaker, or I'd have said maybe Michael Cooper in goal. This year, it feels a little bit more difficult to pick out a star man. Bundu's got 10 goal contributions. Is he maybe the man?
Yeah, he most probably is. Going back to those earlier two, Michael Cooper is without doubt the best goalkeeper outside the Premier League. I'm not having any of this Trafford talk at all. Used at Trafford in our team last season, we don't stay up, is my opinion. So Michael Cooper single-handedly, I would say at least 10 points, if not more, last season. So absolutely phenomenal player. I'm very much looking forward to him going to the Premier League with Sheffield United, because that gives us a few more quid as well, apparently. Not much. Oh, sorry, my oven's going off. Little edit. Sorry, mate. Yeah, then Morgan Whittaker, again, I think we've done well to get the money we did for him. Don't get me wrong. Fantastic player. Absolutely loved having him in green, and could turn nothing into something just from smacking the ball from 40 yards out. So great player. Well, as you know, he's got a hat-trick against you at Home Park. So on his day, he's absolutely fantastic. There's two players that, obviously Michael Cooper is a bigger loss. Yep. But this season, we've just not had any real standout talents like them. We've shored up the back line, like I said. Salavierov may have been one to look out for. He's a Ukrainian. Would have become a full international on the international break, but had to pull out because of a knee injury. So he's out for the rest of the season. He's the one that was celebrating every tackle like a goal against Liverpool. Adam Randall, centre midfielder, born in Plymouth. Some people think he's only in the team because he was born in Plymouth. Absolutely not. He's easily the pick of our most talented players, and was linked with Swansea when Matt Grimes disappeared up country. So I can maybe see him staying in the Championship or in and around it next season. But the man you have to look out for is Mustafa Bundu. Obviously scored that goal up at Carrow Road. Not that anybody will really remember that from that game, but I'm still not really sure what he is. People that have heard me talk about him before will know exactly what I'm about to say. I don't know if he's a striker. Don't know if he's a winger. He's definitely not a 10, but he is just a man that you just sort of just let do what he wants and give him the ball, and he's absolutely rapid. We'll run him behind. We've sort of been deploying him behind Ryan Harvey at the moment, which is working really well with them too. And it's again, I don't know what he is. He's just a maverick. I absolutely love him, and hopefully he'll be the one that notches in a 1-0 win on Saturday. I'll take that right now, please.
Yeah, before I get your firm prediction, just intrigued to get your take on Norwich this season. Obviously, I imagine given your ties here previously, you'd probably have a little bit more of a sort of overview and a look maybe more relative to other Championship fans. So what have you made of this season? Obviously, one that was branded very transitional, and it's probably played out that way in the end.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that last time, didn't we, on the reverse fixtures, just that some of your fans might need to just chill out a bit and just enjoy a transitional season for a season or two. And I think you'll get there. I think hopefully the new investment and the Atenasio's taking over will take it to the next level. I would love to see Norwich do well and in the Premier League, but I think actually, I just think that step's just far too big. And I think you should just really enjoy being a big fish in a small pond for a little while whilst you transition. I don't know if Thorpe is the man to do that, but he definitely feels like the man to help you through that transition. But whereas Wagner definitely wasn't. So I don't see him being the man that takes you up and keeps you up. But yeah, it's interesting. I've actually taken my eye off the ball. I've even turned off notifications. I had them on my phone for a bit since I moved. So couldn't tell you what you've done in the last maybe 4 weeks, but I am really looking forward to it. I always do like a game in Norwich. There should be goals. It's one thing we've learned from recent seasons. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question at all, mate. Just enjoy the transitional season for a season or two, which isn't a season. But, the transitional period, and I think the next manager under the Atanasios will be fine, I think. Some Norwich fans I know just sort of want a bit too much too soon, and it's like almost without being they're gonna ring me and tell me that I'm being a prick now, but they almost just need to calm down a little bit and know their place. But I think they can swap if they like. They can come back down to League One, and I'm sure they would prefer to be where they are now.
Yeah, I think time is certainly key. I think that's a good message. Certainly, a lot of people getting a little bit waylaid and a little bit more frustrated than I thought they probably would be this season.
Yeah.
With that, of course, 7 games to go. This one is the next one. How do you see it all unfolding at home park? Obviously, you guys have got to win if we want to keep any sort of slim chance of playoffs alive, which, don't get me wrong, I think is way gone. We've got to win. So with all that, how do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, in the nicest possible way. I'd love to see a 1-0 Argyle win purely for the points, but also just to finally kill that playoff dream. Sorry, I don't know who's ringing me. To kill that playoff dream, that would be nice, but I can't see it. I do see it. I'm going to go 3-1 Norwich, but we score first. That'd be nice. Mustafa Bundu, why not? No, a 3-1 defeat wouldn't be nice, but scoring would be nice. But it's just done now. I'm not really bothered. Even if we got pumped like 8-0, my mood wouldn't change. It's done. So
I think we got the revenge for last season in the early game. So I think we're a little bit more chilled out heading down there. And just finally, to round off the show, do you want to plug where people can find the Argyle Life content?
Yeah, we run a podcast called the Green and White Podcast by Argyle Life. Just search Argyle Life on all your channels. You'll find us there. We're not doing a preview for Norwich. We've stopped doing previews because, like I said, we're down. So there's no point getting too excited for games. So you won't find one of those, but you will find match reaction. We go live the day after a game at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Twitter, or X, as you're supposed to call it now. But so if you want to get our side of the story, which will most probably just be slightly moaning and miserable that we've just been beaten again, then come and find that.
Top man. Well, of course, we'll link that good stuff down below. Aaron, do really appreciate your time this afternoon. Great to have you back on the show. Of course, looking forward to the game on Saturday. All the usual pre-match build-up across the Pink 'Un channels. Of course, be down at Colney. Speaking to Yanis Torp on Wednesday and making the long old trip to Plymouth on Friday night ahead of Saturday's game. Looking forward to it. We'll see what we get then. Thanks for joining us this evening, and we'll see you in the next one.